According to YouTube analytics, 98% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, the Galactic Agricultural Council's emergency session dissolved into chaos the moment Xilax's datapad started screaming. "Impossible," he muttered, his three primary eyes fixed on the telemetry streaming from Kepler 442's surface. "Confirm these readings." Immediately. Across the chamber, senior agricultural specialist Jotaro was already on his feet, his comm device pressed against the side of his head. "Orbital station, this is Jotaro. I need confirmation on biological activity in the Class 7 zone. Tell me those sensors are malfunctioning." The response came through crackling with static. "Sir, sensors are functioning perfectly. We have visual confirmation. There's a human on the surface. She's planting something." The council chamber went silent. "A human?" Xilax's voice dropped to a whisper. "In the forbidden zone, evacuate her immediately. That soil concentration will—" He stopped mid-sentence, staring at his screen. The bio readings were all wrong. The human's vital signs were normal, better than normal, and the soil contamination levels around her were dropping. "Station, this is Counselor Xilax. What is the human doing right now?" "She appears to be singing, sir, and digging holes. She just planted what looks like earth crop seeds in Class 7 soil. Get me a direct comm link, now." A moment later, a cheerful female voice filled the chamber through the overhead speakers. "And the corn goes in the ground, nice and deep. Hello? Is someone there? This is Galactic Agricultural Council Representative Xilax. Ma'am, you need to evacuate that location immediately. The soil you're standing on is classified as—" "Oh, hey, I was hoping someone would call. Do you guys know if this purple moss stuff is normal? It's all over the north field. Kind of pretty, actually. Thinking about leaving it as ground cover." Jotaro grabbed the comm from Xilax. "Ma'am, that moss is a Class 7 biological contaminant. It's lethal to every known form of carbon-based life. You need to—" "Huh. Weird. I've been rolling around in it all morning. Got some in my hair earlier." She laughed. "Anyway, I just finished planting the first acre. Should I be worried about the water quality? The well looks pretty old, but the water tastes fine." "You drank from the well?" Jotaro's voice cracked. "The contaminated well?" "Yeah, I ran it through my Brita filter first. I'm not an animal." In the orbital station 300 miles above the planet's surface, agricultural specialist Azila was staring at her instrument panel like it had personally betrayed her. "Sir, she just started watering." "With water?" "From the contaminated well." "How is she still alive?" someone whispered from the back of the council chamber. Xilax pulled up the property records, his hands shaking. "She bought it, 4 weeks ago, through a standard real estate listing. The automated system classified it as fixer-upper farmland." "Someone sold her quarantined land?" Jotaro looked like he might be sick. The listing said, "Rustic, untouched property with potential. 3,000 credits." Xilax scrolled through the documentation. There's no mention of the quarantine. The human designation wasn't flagged in the property system. It didn't trigger any alerts. "Because we never thought a human would be insane enough to buy property this far out," Azila said through the comm. "Sir, you need to see these readings. The soil toxicity around her is decreasing. Not slowly, by measurable percentages every 10 minutes. "That's impossible. 3 civilizations tried to decontaminate this planet. The Vexani lost 12,000 colonists before they gave up. The soil is saturated with self-replicating bioweapon remnants from the Kaldi extinction event. The spores alone should have killed her within minutes of exposure." Through the comm, they could hear the human humming something cheerful. "Ma'am," Jotaro tried again, forcing calm into his voice. "My name is Jotaro. I'm an agricultural specialist. Can you tell me exactly what you've done since you arrived on the planet?" "Oh, sure. Well, I got here about 6 hours ago. Spent the first hour just walking the property, getting a feel for the land, you know? The soil's actually really rich once you get past the weird purple crust. I tilled the first field, added some compost I brought from Earth, and started planting my heirloom corn. I've got tomatoes and beans to plant next, then maybe some squash. You tilled the soil? Azila interrupted. The Class 7 contaminated soil, with your hands. Well, with a tiller, obviously, though I did have to get down and break up some of the chunks manually. Got dirt under my nails and everything. Why? Should I have worn gloves? The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Zilax raised his hand for silence, his eyes still fixed on the data streaming across his screen. Station, what are current contamination levels in the tilled area? Down 43% from baseline, sir, and still dropping. In 6 hours. Yes, sir. It took the Vexani decontamination team 6 years to achieve a 2% reduction before the spores killed them all. Through the comm, they heard the sound of digging, then a satisfied sigh. There we go, 20 rows of corn, nice and straight. Now about that purple moss, should I clear it or keep it? I'm thinking it might actually help with nitrogen fixation, but I don't want it competing with the corn for nutrients. The purple moss, Jitaro said slowly, was engineered by an extinct civilization as a planetary bioweapon. It's been killing everything that touches it for 4,000 years. Huh. Well, it's not killing me. Maybe it's one of those things that's only dangerous to certain species, like how chocolate is fine for humans but toxic to dogs. Zilax pulled up the historical records, his hands moving frantically across the display. This planet was under Chaldi control before the bioweapon deployment. They were attempting agricultural expansion. The weapon was designed to make the planet uninhabitable to prevent enemy acquisition. It succeeded. The Chaldi went extinct within a generation. Every subsequent species that attempted colonization suffered the same fate. The quarantine has been in place for 4,217 years, Azila added. Our best projections suggested the planet wouldn't be safe for colonization for another 50,000 years. Minimum. Well, Sarah's voice came through, still cheerful. Maybe it just needed someone to actually farm it instead of trying to colonize it? I don't know. I'm just here to grow some vegetables and figure out my life after that whole thing with Derek. Who's Derek? Jitaro asked automatically. My ex. Not important. Hey, is anyone going to answer my question about the moss? Zilax and Jitaro looked at each other. 4,000 years of quarantine, 3 extinct species, 50,000 years of projected contamination, and a human woman was planting corn. 2 hours later, Azila's sensor array lit up like a supernova. Radiation spike. Sir, we're reading Class 9 energy signatures from the surface. The human just... She stopped, recalibrating her instruments. She dug something up. Jitaro pulled up the live feed. Sarah was kneeling in her freshly tilled field, brushing dirt off what looked like a crystalline structure pulsing with sickly green light. The kind of light that, according to every database in the galaxy, meant imminent death. Ma'am, step away from that object immediately. This thing? Sarah's voice was muffled, like she was exerting effort. It's stuck pretty good. Hang on. A grunt, then a satisfied noise. Got it. Oh, wow, it's beautiful. Looks like some kind of crystal or gemstone. That is not a gemstone, Zilax said, his voice barely above a whisper. That's a Chaldi radiation emitter. Direct exposure causes cellular breakdown in under 30 seconds. Huh. Well, I've been holding it for like 2 minutes and I feel fine. Hey, there are more of these buried along the property line. I'm thinking they'd make really pretty markers for the corn rows. Very aesthetic, you know. Very aesthetic, Jitaro repeated numbly. Over the next 20 minutes, they watched in mounting horror as Sarah unearthed 17 more crystalline structures and carefully placed them along her corn rows like garden ornaments. The radiation readings spiked with each one. Sarah's vital signs remained stable. Then Azila noticed something else. Sir, the corn. Look at the corn. The seeds Sarah had planted 3 hours ago were sprouting. Not just sprouting, growing at a rate that violated every known principle of botanical development. Shoots were pushing through the soil, unfurling leaves, stretching toward the artificial sun. That's 3 weeks of growth, Jotaro said, in 3 hours. Check the radiation readings near the HFY. Plants, Zilax ordered. Azila's hands flew across her console. The crystals they're emitting a frequency that's accelerating plant growth. But that doesn't make sense. Those emitters are weapons. They should be killing everything. Maybe they're fertilizing instead of killing, Sarah suggested helpfully through the comm. Like, if you think about it, radiation is just energy, right? Plants need energy. Maybe these things are like super grow lights. That's not how radiation works, Jotaro said, but his voice lacked conviction. A new voice crackled through the comm system, sharp with authority. This is Sector Command. We're dispatching xenobiology specialist Vex Thule to the surface. All council members are ordered to maintain position and continue monitoring. Under no circumstances is anyone to interfere with the humans' activities until Vex Thule completes his assessment. Jotaro slumped in his chair. They're sending Vex Thule. They think we've lost our minds. Can you blame them? Zilax gestured at the live feed, where Sarah was now setting up an irrigation system using pipes she'd apparently brought from Earth. We're reporting that a human is gardening in a Class 7 death zone and thriving. The irrigation project took Sarah another hour. She was halfway through digging a trench when her shovel hit something solid with a metallic clang. Huh, that's weird. What's weird? Jotaro asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. There's like a metal door or something down here, underground. Give me a second. Ma'am, please don't. The sound of scraping metal filled the comm. Then Sarah's voice, echoing slightly. Oh, wow. You guys are not going to believe this. It's some kind of chamber down here. The walls are covered in symbols or writing or something. Hold on, I'll send pictures. Jotaro's datapad chimed. He opened the image file and felt his blood turn cold. The symbols covering the walls were unmistakable, Kaldi warning glyphs, specifically the ones that translated roughly to "Death beyond this point, do not enter, world killer stored within." Ma'am, he said carefully, that's not graffiti. Those are warning symbols, from the civilization that went extinct on your planet. They're telling you not to go inside. Oh, that makes sense, like a keep out sign. Well, I'm already inside, so... Oh, this is so cool. It's like a seed vault. You know, like that one they have in Norway, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. There are all these containers lined up on shelves, climate controlled and everything. These people were way more advanced than I thought. Azila pulled up the historical records, her hands shaking. Sir, that chamber. The Kaldi records mention it. It's where they stored the bioweapon source material before deployment. The containers hold the original terraforming seeds that created the contamination. Do not touch anything, Jotaro said urgently. Ma'am, Sarah, those are classified as galaxy-level bioweapons. They're designed to terraform planets into uninhabitable death worlds. If you release them... Too late, I grabbed a few. They're in these cool metallic pods, but they opened right up. The seeds inside look kind of like giant pumpkin seeds. Weird texture, though. Definitely alien. I'm going to try planting them next to the corn, see what happens. The council chamber erupted in shouts. Zilax was on 3 different comm channels at once, calling for emergency protocols. Jotaro was frantically trying to calculate blast radius and evacuation zones. Station, initiate remote shutdown of all surface equipment, Azila ordered. Maybe we can at least stop her from... Shutdown failed. The human's equipment is mechanically operated, not networked. Through the comm, they heard a ripping sound. Stupid tiller died on me. No problem. I've got duct tape. Should have it running in a minute. She's fixing it, Azila said weakly. With duct tape. Zilax pulled up Sarah's background file, desperately searching for some explanation. Sarah Jackson, age 32, former marketing consultant for a beverage company on Earth. No military training, no scientific background, no agricultural education beyond hobby gardening. She bought this farm after a relationship ended badly. She's nobody. Nobody is gardening with doomsday weapons, Jotaro said. The chamber doors burst open. Vex Thule strode in, already sealed in a full hazmat suit, his expression visible through the faceplate and thoroughly unimpressed. "I've reviewed your reports. I'm going to the surface to end this farce before you all get reprimanded for mass hallucination." 6 hours later, Vex Thule stood at the edge of Sarah's property, watching through his suit's sensors as the human woman, wearing nothing but gardening gloves and a sun hat, emerged from the underground death chamber carrying a bucket full of galaxy-level bioweapons. "The human is inside the contamination epicenter," he said slowly. "Her biology should be—" "Oh, wow!" Sarah's voice rang out cheerfully. "There's some kind of seed vault down here. This is just like that one in Norway, the Svalbard thing. You guys have to see this, it's amazing." Vex Thule checked his readings. The doomsday seeds in her bucket were actively germinating. He stood very still for a long moment, then he activated his comm to sector command. "Sir, we have a situation." Sarah planted the doomsday seeds at sunrise. By noon, Vex Thule's entire understanding of xenobiology had collapsed. "They're sprouting," Azila reported from the orbital station, her voice hollow. "The galaxy-level bioweapons are sprouting. Into plants, normal-looking plants. Well, large plants, very large plants." Vex Thule stood in his hazmat suit, instruments in hand, watching a seed that should have triggered planetary extinction protocols, instead push up through the soil like an oversized bean sprout. Next to it, Sarah's corn was already knee-high, swaying gently in the breeze. "Contamination levels?" he asked, though he already knew the answer would be impossible. "Down another 40% in the last hour, sir. At this rate, the entire farm will be at safe colonization levels by tomorrow." "That's not possible. 4,000 years of contamination doesn't just—" He stopped, recalibrating his suit sensors for the third time. They kept insisting he was standing in perfectly healthy soil. An emergency xenobotany team arrived 3 hours later, their ship loaded with state-of-the-art analysis equipment. Within 20 minutes, every instrument had malfunctioned. "The readings don't make sense," the team lead reported, smacking her scanner against her palm. "According to this, we're standing in some of the richest agricultural soil in the sector, but that's impossible. This is a death world." "Was a death world," Jotaro corrected quietly from the comm. Sarah emerged from her small prefab house carrying a pitcher and glasses. "Hey, you guys want some lemonade? It's getting hot out here." The xenobotany team stared at her. "You're drinking the water?" one of them asked. "Well, yeah, I filtered it." "Want some or not? I also made cookies, but they're Earth recipe, so I don't know if you can eat them." She set the pitcher down on a folding table she'd set up in the shade. "Make yourselves comfortable. You're probably here to ask about the plants, right?" Vex Thule removed his helmet. The suit sensors insisted the air was perfectly safe and accepted a glass. The lemonade was excellent. This somehow made everything worse. "Ma'am," he began, "could you explain your technique? How exactly are you managing to grow crops in soil that has killed 3 civilizations?" "Oh, sure." Sarah pulled out a worn notebook, its pages covered in sketches and handwritten notes. "So, I just treated it like any other garden, you know? First, I tested the soil pH, little acidic, but nothing some lime can't fix. Then I looked at what was already growing here, that purple moss you guys are so worried about, and figured it was probably nitrogen fixing. So I worked with it instead of against it." "Worked with it," Vex Thule repeated. "Yeah. See, the moss was really aggressive, right? But aggressive usually means it's trying to establish itself because the soil needs something. So I let it spread in some areas and cleared it in others. Companion planting. Then I added the crystals as row markers, and they turned out to be amazing for the corn. Like grow lights, but better. Those crystals emit lethal radiation. To you, maybe. To my corn, they're like Christmas morning." She flipped through her journal. "I've been documenting everything. Growth rates, soil changes, which plants do better near the crystals versus away from them. Basic garden journal stuff." Azila's voice came through the comm, tight with confusion. But the bioweapon was designed to prevent exactly this kind of cultivation. The Kaldi engineered it specifically to make the planet uninhabitable. Sarah looked up at the sky, addressing the orbital station. Designed by who? Like, was it designed by gardeners or weapons people? Silence. Then Jataro's voice, slowly. Military engineers. The Kaldi military created it as a scorched earth defense protocol. There's your problem. Sarah took a sip of lemonade. Military people making plants. That's like asking a programmer to cater your wedding. Sure, they'll create something, but it's not going to be what you actually need. She gestured at the thriving crops around them. This whole system down here, the seeds, the moss, the crystals, it's not a weapon. It's a really aggressive terraforming setup, but terraforming needs maintenance, management. You can't just deploy it and walk away. Vexthul sat down heavily on a nearby rock. 4,000 years. We've spent 4,000 years treating it as a hostile bioweapon, trying to kill it, sterilize it, destroy it. Wait, you guys tried to kill it? Sarah laughed, shaking her head. No wonder it got angry. That's like poisoning your garden because the weeds are getting out of control. You don't kill a garden, you manage it. One of the xenobotany team members pointed at the doomsday plant, which was now 3 feet tall with broad, healthy leaves. But that seed came from the contamination source. It should be creating more contamination, not growing into a normal plant. It's not a normal plant. Look. Sarah walked over with a small pair of pruning shears. See how it's got these weird lateral shoots? They're trying to spread aggressively. That's the terraforming instinct. But if you just... She made a careful cut, removing the aggressive growth. Prune it back. Give it boundaries. It calms right down. Like training a vine. The moment she made the cut, every instrument on the xenobotany team started beeping. Contamination levels in the immediate area had dropped another 60%. It responds to pruning, Azila whispered. 4,000 years, and we never tried pruning it. Why would you prune a bioweapon? Jataro asked. Because it's not a bioweapon. Sarah set down her shears with a sigh. It's a garden that nobody tended. Look, back home we have this saying, treat your garden like it's trying to help you, not kill you. Plants don't have malice. They just grow. Sometimes aggressively. Sometimes in ways we don't expect. But they're not trying to hurt you. They're just trying to survive. Vexthul picked up Sarah's journal, flipping through pages of careful observations and sketches. You've documented interaction patterns, growth cycles, optimal spacing between the crystals and the crops, companion planting arrangements with the doomsday seeds and your earth vegetables. Well, yeah, that's just good gardening practice. This is a complete theoretical framework for managing Kaldi terraforming technology. Do you understand that? Sarah shrugged. I understand that I've got 20 more rows to plant before sunset, and those tomato seedlings won't transplant themselves. The xenobotany team looked at each other, at their malfunctioning instruments, at the thriving garden surrounding them, at the human woman in gardening gloves who had accidentally solved a 4,000-year-old crisis by treating a doomsday weapon like a tomato plant. Sir, one of them said to Vexthul, I think we need to completely revise our approach to xenobotanical threats. I think, Vexthul said quietly, we need to revise our approach to everything. Sarah offered him a cookie. Want to help with the tomatoes? I could use an extra pair of hands. He took the cookie. It was also excellent. Sure, he said. Why not? 3 weeks after Sarah planted her first seed, Jataro stood in the Galactic Council chambers presenting findings that rewrote 4,000 years of galactic history. The Kaldi bioweapon, he said, pulling up a holographic display of Sarah's thriving farm, was never a weapon at all. The chamber erupted in protests. Zilax raised a hand for silence. Explain. We've been analyzing the Kaldi records with fresh perspective. The civilization that created this system wasn't trying to destroy the planet. They were trying to save it. Jataro pulled up ancient texts, newly translated. The Chaldi were facing ecological collapse. Their agricultural systems were failing, so their scientists, not their military, their scientists, developed an aggressive terraforming solution, a gift for future generations. A gift that killed 3 civilizations, someone challenged. A gift without an instruction manual. Vexthul stepped forward, holding Sarah's garden journal like a sacred text. The Chaldi went extinct before they could teach anyone how to manage the system. Every species that came after saw aggressive, uncontrolled growth and assumed weapon. We tried to fight it, poison it, burn it. Every aggressive action made it respond more aggressively. We created the death world through our own misunderstanding. Azila activated another display. The human treated it like what it actually was, a garden. She provided maintenance, boundaries, and care. The system responded exactly as designed. Within 3 weeks, contamination levels across her entire farm have dropped to 0. The soil is now classified as Grade A agricultural land. Impossible, someone muttered, but without conviction. The corn harvest came in yesterday, Jotaro continued. Perfect ears. Exactly as the human predicted. The doomsday seeds, which we now understand are actually an advanced crop species, produced fruits the size of watermelons, highly nutritious, delicious, according to preliminary testing. He paused. Native wildlife has returned to the area for the first time in 4,000 years. Birds, insects, small mammals, the ecosystem is regenerating around her farm. Zilax pulled up a star map. 47 planets glowed in warning red. These are our current Class 7 quarantine worlds. All exhibit similar contamination patterns. All were abandoned Chaldi agricultural projects. The implications settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. We've wasted 4 millennia, Zilax said quietly, being afraid of gardening equipment. On the surface of Kepler 442, Sarah was harvesting corn. The stalks stood 8 feet tall, heavy with perfect ears. She worked her way down the rows, filling baskets, humming contentedly. The doomsday plants, she'd started calling them mega squash because that's basically what they were, sprawled across their designated area, producing fruits that took 2 people to carry. Vexthul approached with the xenobotany team, all of them now working without hazmat suits. The council wants to speak with you. Sure, just let me finish this row. She pulled another ear, checked it, tossed it in the basket. What's up? Jotaro's voice came through the comm, formal and careful. Ms. Jackson, we need to ask you something important. How did you know this would work? Sarah laughed, straightening up and wiping sweat from her forehead. I didn't, but things usually grow better when you're nice to them. Plus, I had nothing to lose. The farm was only 3,000 credits. A long pause. Then Azila's voice, faint with disbelief. You risked your life for a 3,000 credit investment? Well, I'd already lost my job and my boyfriend. Figured alien farming couldn't be worse than Tinder. She grinned at Vexthul, who had developed what might have been a sense of humor over the past 3 weeks. Turns out I was right. The plants here are way less toxic than my ex. Ms. Jackson, Zilax's voice carried the weight of the entire council. We've identified 47 other quarantine worlds with contamination patterns identical to your planet. We believe they're all abandoned agricultural systems, not weapons. Would you be willing to consult on, can I finish my harvest first? I've got tomatoes coming in next week, and the mega squash needs to be picked at peak ripeness, or they get bitter. Another long pause. Of course, Zilax said, take your time. That evening, Sarah sat on her porch. She'd built a porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of purple and gold. The mega squash plants rustled in the breeze. The corn stalks swayed. In the distance, she could hear something that sounded like birds. Jotaro had come down from the orbital station, officially to collect samples, but mostly, Sarah suspected, because he was curious. He sat on the porch steps, holding a glass of her lemonade and staring at the transformed landscape. I still don't understand, he said finally. How did you know to try companion planting, to prune the aggressive growth? to work with the contamination instead of against it. Sarah shrugged. I didn't know anything. I just gardened, like I would back home. She gestured at the fields. You guys saw weapons and death and danger. I saw plants, maybe bad-tempered plants, maybe plants that needed some serious intervention, but still just plants. 3 civilizations saw weapons. 3 civilizations probably sent soldiers and scientists, people trained to fight threats or study them from a distance. She took a sip of her lemonade. Nobody sent a gardener. You're not even a professional gardener. Nope, just someone who likes growing things. She smiled. Although I guess I might need to update my resume now. Successfully managed galaxy-level agricultural system sounds pretty good. Jotaro laughed despite himself. The council is calling it the Jackson Protocol. Your methods are being distributed to every agricultural station in the sector. The Jackson Protocol, that's fancy. Sarah leaned back in her chair. Does it mention the part where I had no idea what I was doing? We left that part out. Probably for the best. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the alien sky darken and the first stars emerge. Somewhere in those stars, Sarah knew, there were 47 other planets waiting. 47 abandoned gardens that just needed someone to care for them. The council wants to hire you as a consultant, Jotaro said. They're offering a substantial salary, transportation, resources. What about my farm? You could keep it, return between consultations. Sarah considered this, looking out at her corn, her mega squash, her perfect little farm on the edge of the galaxy. Can I think about it? Of course. Good. Because I'm pretty sure there's another underground chamber on the South 40. I want to see what's in it first. Jotaro's expression went carefully neutral. Please tell me you're joking. Sarah grinned. Where's the fun in that? The Galactic Council's emergency session lasted 14 hours. The vote was unanimous. All 47 Class 7 quarantine zones are hereby reclassified as abandoned agricultural projects, pending proper management, Zilax announced. We are authorizing immediate deployment of agricultural teams trained in the Jackson Protocol to each world. The what protocol? Sarah asked through the comm, where she was listening while transplanting tomatoes. Your methods, Ms. Jackson. We'd like to hire you as our chief agricultural consultant for... Nope. Silence. I'm sorry, Zilax said carefully. I don't do titles. They're stressful. But I'll take a garden advice contract if you want. Hourly rate. I can video call with your teams, answer questions, that kind of thing. But I'm staying on my farm. More silence. Then, that's acceptable. Within a month, 3 more quarantine worlds had been cleared. Agricultural specialists armed with Sarah's journal, pruning shears, and a fundamentally different mindset were transforming death worlds into bread baskets. The new council protocol was elegantly simple. Treat unknown xenobotany as potential agriculture first. On Kepler 442, life continued. Sarah was elbow-deep in compost when Vexthal approached with a datapad. I'd like to formally study your methods. Write a paper. Would you be willing to? Sure, but you should probably just read some Earth books first. Try The Botany of Desire. It's really good. Explains the whole plant-human relationship thing better than I could. Or just any basic permaculture guide. I can send you a list. You're saying the solution to 4,000 years of galactic crisis is in basic Earth gardening books? I mean, yeah, Sarah straightened up, stretching her back. We've been farming for like 10,000 years. We've figured some stuff out. Vexthal stared at her, then at his datapad, then back at her. I'm going to need that list. By month 2, Sarah had set up a small farm stand near her house. The arriving scientists needed to eat, and she had surplus. She sold corn, tomatoes, and chunks of mega squash fruit, which, it turned out, tasted like a cross between pumpkin and sweet potato and was absolutely delicious. The profits were good. Good enough that when the adjacent property came up for sale, definitely haunted possible unstable temporal anomalies, priced to move, she bought it immediately. "You're buying more cursed alien property?" Jotaro asked, incredulous. "It's a great deal, only 2,000 credits, and temporal anomalies probably just means the previous owners didn't understand the local time dilation fields. I bet I can grow some really interesting crops there." That's not how temporal anomalies—" He stopped, remembering the last time he'd told Sarah something was impossible. "You know what? Good luck." 3 months after Sarah had planted her first corn seed, Jotaro and Azila made a formal visit to the farm. They found her in the garden, staking tomato plants. "Sarah," Jotaro began formally, "the Galactic Council wants to award you the Stellar Agriculture Prize. It's the highest honor in—" Sarah laughed, not looking up from her work. "That's sweet, but I'm kind of busy. These tomatoes won't stake themselves." "You saved 47 worlds," Azila said quietly. Sarah paused, turning to face them. "I planted some vegetables." "You guys saved 47 worlds by finally asking a gardener." She smiled. "See the difference?" Behind them, a team of council agricultural representatives was frantically taking notes as Sarah's mega squash plants went through their afternoon growth cycle. The Galactic University had established a human agricultural philosophy department. Sarah's handwritten garden journal, carefully scanned and distributed, was required reading for every xenobotany student in 3 sectors. "The council is implementing new first contact protocols," Jotaro said. "Whenever we encounter something we don't understand, we're supposed to ask, what would a human think this is for?" "That seems overly specific," Sarah said. "You'd be surprised how often it's applicable." He gestured around the transformed landscape. "We've spent millennia approaching everything as either a threat or a resource to exploit. You taught us there's a third option. Which is? Care for it and see what happens." Sarah considered this, then nodded. "Yeah, that sounds about right." That evening, while planting pumpkins in her newly acquired haunted field, Sarah's shovel hit something metallic. She dug around it, revealing another crystalline structure. This one was definitely different, darker, pulsing with energy signatures that made her comm unit start beeping urgently. She pulled out her phone and texted the council, "Found another glowy thing. Should I plant squash around it?" Her comm immediately lit up with an incoming call. "Wait for hazmat team." Zilax's voice was slightly panicked. "Do not touch it. Do not approach it. That energy signature matches a Kaldi defensive weapon. Actual weapon this time, not agriculture. We're dispatching." "Too late. Already planted. Sending pics." Sarah snapped a photo of the crystal, now surrounded by freshly planted pumpkin seeds. In the council chambers, every alarm system activated simultaneously. Then, as they watched the live feed, the weapon signatures began to power down. The crystal's aggressive pulsing slowed, steadied, and settled into a gentle glow that looked remarkably similar to the grow-light crystals Sarah had found earlier. "It's deactivating," Azila whispered. On the surface, Sarah brushed dirt off her hands and examined her handiwork. "Yeah, I figured. Want some pumpkin bread?" "I made extra." "How?" Vexthul asked. "How did you know it would respond to planting?" "I didn't know, but it looked similar to the other crystals, just angrier. Figured maybe it was lonely. Plants help with that." She paused. "Is that weird?" "That sounds weird when I say it out loud." "By human standards?" Jotaro asked. "Fair point." 6 months later, the Galactic Council released a report. 47 worlds reclaimed. 12 previously unknown Kaldi agricultural systems discovered and successfully managed. 3 actual weapon systems peacefully deactivated by strategic planting. 0 casualties. The report's conclusion was simple. When in doubt, try gardening first. On Kepler 442, Sarah was planning her crop rotation for next season. She sat on her porch with her journal, sketching out ideas while the mega squash plants rustled in the evening breeze. In the distance, on her haunted property, the pumpkins were already sprouting. Jotaro's ship descended weekly now, bringing supplies and updates. Today he brought news that made even Sarah pause. "They're naming a star after you." "That's excessive." "It's in the Caldi home system, seemed appropriate." Sarah considered this, then shrugged. "As long as I don't have to make a speech." "No speeches required." "Then sure, that's nice." She turned back to her journal. "Hey, while you're here, want to help me figure out what to plant in the south field? I'm thinking maybe actual pumpkins this time, not just wherever I find angry crystals." Jotaro sat down on the porch steps, accepting the glass of lemonade she offered. Behind him, the sun set over a world that had been dead for 4,000 years and was now more alive than ever. Somewhere in the galaxy, 46 other gardens were being tended. 46 other death worlds were learning what it meant to be cared for instead of feared. And on Earth, in a small apartment that Sarah had never quite gotten around to fully moving out of, a letter sat unread from her ex-boyfriend Derek, asking if they could maybe talk about things. Sarah had left it unopened when she left for the stars. Some gardens, she'd decided, weren't worth tending.